What's up, sound enthusiasts? Mike here with Trail 7. We're really excited to release and introduce our full plug-and-play Hertz Audison package for your Bronco. We're going to discuss what this is and difference of a system to the other systems that we have, what components we put together, etc. We're going to show you how easy this is to install, and I'm going to walk you through some bits and parts and pieces of why you choose this package versus another package for your Bronco. So let's talk a little bit about what we've put together for you using the Hertz Audison brands. Both companies are owned by Electromedia. If you're not aware of that, they're both very high-end companies with high-end equipment, and they commingle very well with each other. So a lot of times you'll see a Hertz amp or an Audison amp with the Hertz speakers, Audison speakers, etc. So let's talk about what we've put together for your Bronco. Again, this is applicable for a B&O system only. We will have a non-B&O package coming out, but this one here is only for the B&O system. So what we've done here is put a 6-channel amplifier with a mono amplifier in the same bracket. Explain why we've done that in a second. We have a full plug-and-play harness, which is the T-harness that connects to the head unit. This is the wiring that routes up from the amplifier, the power, the bracket. Of course, we have the speakers over here, which today we're not installing the speakers. Today's video is demonstrating how to install the amplifier. We'll have another video to show you how to install the specific Hertz and Audison speakers into this bundle. But again, today we're going to focus on this guy here. So why go with the 6-channel amplifier? When this system here with the B&O, since all the wires are already routed to the speakers, we can easily integrate a harness that taps into that factory speaker wire, allowing this to be a quick, easy-ish plug-and-play installation. So using a 6-channel amplifier allows us to completely control each speaker designated to its own channel on the amplifier. So what we can set a set of coax speakers in the dash, woofers down in the kick area, and coax speakers in the rear, and completely adjust the frequencies to dial that system in pretty close to a DSP without being a DSP. DSP, if you're not aware of what that is, it's a digital sound processor. You have to connect your computer to, and that's a whole different level of technicalities to adjust a sound system. Doing it this way is a different version of that, still getting full control over it. It's a beautiful sound system when it comes all together. It's a great, easy choice of doing that. So on the back side of this amplifier is a mono amp. So this is Audison's 6-channel. This is Audison's mono amp. This is going to control the subwoofer. So you have the 6-channel for the speakers, the mono amp for the subwoofer. We'll walk you through the adjustments on how to set up each speaker, how to set up the frequencies, what that's doing, what that means to a baseline, to which is it's a moderate setting that we come out with. You, of course, can increase that if you want a little bit more enthusiastic sound. This amplifier has lots of room to grow, whether on the upside or downside of scaling, however you wanted to adjust it. So just to show a couple of very basic tools that we'll put up here for you to see exactly what we're going to use. Something else I'd like to note is that this video, of course, was shot today using the bundle that it's set up today. If we make a change in the future, tomorrow, next month, based on comments or new cabling or new connectors that come out, we'll update the description to show the changes. We'll update the installation guide on our site, and we'll also update the product page. Of course, we can't go back and edit this video. The reason I'm saying that is because a lot of times we have customers that will receive a harness that has a new connection on it, and they'll ask, the video shows this connection. Yes, just make sure you're reading the description, seeing the installation guide, which we send out when you receive your bundle or prior to receiving your bundle, and also in the product page we'll have the latest and updated connections if anything were to change. Perfect example of why I'm saying that is that this harness here, when we came out with the first edition a couple of months ago, we used a different connector. Now we have a better connector, a Molex connector that we're using. When we do the install here, I'll show you where that's connecting into, but there's a perfect example of we just made something better, that's all. Same connection, same routing, it's just better. So there's what we have. There's a little bit of an explanation of the dual amp setup, some of the speakers that we're going to be including into the bundle, some of the options. Now let's go ahead and get this thing installed. All right, so the first part of the assembly, of course, is the disassembly. So we're going to show you how to disassemble this from a previous video. We've already done an amp install in a B&O Bronco. We've already done the power install. We've already done the tailgate install, right? So we've done a lot of installs already. We're going to show you how to disassemble, remove the factory B&O system, run the power from another video. Something to note here, just a quick little drop. This is the Hertz 12-inch tailgate sub, the Trail 7 enclosure with the 12-inch Hertz subwoofer in it. That'll be included in one of the bundles as an option. So let's go ahead and get started with the disassembly. We're going to remove this panel. We're We're going to remove the factory B&O system, which is the amplifier, the subwoofer. We're going to remove the carpeting here, the liner here, remove the panels to run the power, and I'll hop in between there to show you some differences and changes. So let's go ahead and clip over that now, and we'll be right back. So of course we need to get this panel off. In order to do that, we need to remove a couple of other panels to get access to behind here. So this bottom board needs to come out by removing the 2 bolts on each corner. With your panel removal tool, you'll just pop off the piece of plastic on top of there, exposing 2 10mm bolts on each corner. That'll come out and remove this tray. That'll allow us access to this trim panel piece here and the trim panel piece up there, which will also come out. Then we can remove the panel over here. By doing so, we're just gonna pop off with the panel removal tool, a little section over here, and stick your hand behind it. You'll pop off each tab one by one with your hand. That'll expose a couple of connectors back here, which you'll need to disconnect, and then you can remove this trim panel. Then you'll see the factory B&O system, the amplifier and the sub. Remove that bracket, simply install the new bracket, and then keep on going from there. So high level, that's what we're gonna do. Now let's show you each piece one at a time, and let's start removing this bottom board here. This just pops off just like this. Now you have these 2 10mm bolts on each corner. Go ahead and remove that. And that comes out like that. All right, let's go ahead and get all the other corners out. Now that those are all out, we can go ahead and take this board out. Let's go ahead and lift it up here. Now that the board is out, it gives access to this panel here. This needs to come out so we can take this side piece off, because you can see it's overlapping over here. Just pop it off with your trim panel removal tool, and it just pops right out. Now this is all exposed, and we do need to remove this piece up here. So with the panel removal tool, just lift up on one end here, and you can stick your fingers underneath there, and this piece, this entire piece here, just pulls right off. It has the little clips in there holding it into the back. So we go ahead and lift that up, put our fingers underneath here, they can just pull right up, and the whole thing comes out. All right, so in order to get this panel off of here, there's a tiny little piece of trim back behind here. It's held on by 2 little clips, so we need to pop this panel piece off here first. Very simple. Just with your panel removal tool, just lift it up. Now you're ready to go ahead and start removing the panel. As I said before, you're going to start from the top and just start popping off the clips one by one as you go down. So for here, there's these clips behind here that have a little U channel that the clip is mounted into and holding the trim piece on. What you can do is lift both sides, lift the top of it and the bottom of it, and kind of pull the bottom out and push the top down, and you'll see it pops it out. Again, just reach your hand back behind here and just push out one clip at a time. So here are the 3 connectors that I was mentioning earlier. Just go ahead and remove this bottom one here first. Just pushing the tab, pull it out. Let's go ahead and remove these now. This is the charger, or the 12-volt outlet, and this is the light. So you're gonna pull that out. In order to get this out, there's this little tab up top here. So I recommend getting just a small little flathead screwdriver. You just poke that tab in. Now we're just going to go ahead and keep popping the rest of the clips off. You can take this piece off here if it helps. Now in order to get this part over here, obviously I came over to the passenger rear door here to go ahead and give me leverage to pull the rest of it off. There's an overlapping piece right here that needs to come off. So let's go ahead and continue. Just pop off each clip as necessary to remove the piece. All right, now that we have the factory B&O system, sub, and amplifier exposed, let's go ahead and get rid of this thing. Just so you know, the factory B&O amplifier only powers the subwoofer, the 2 dash speakers, and the kick speakers, which means the center speaker and the rear roll bar speakers are not powered at all by the B&O amplifier. Those are powered directly from the radio. So in order to remove this, we have a connector up top here that's going to come out. We have 3 connectors on the back here that are going to come out. We have 2 bolts on top that are going to come out and 2 bolts down below. So it's 4 bolts, 4 connectors, and this thing is out. And that's it. The factory B&O amplifier and subwoofer are removed. While I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and remove these also. If these get stuck inside the Bronco, you're going to want to pull these out and put them into the trim piece so that when you put them back in, they're easy just to push in. All right, the factory B&O system has been gutted, as you can see. It's very easy. Panels removed. The panels along the side here and the back has been removed also for the power run. Let's take a look at the amp bracket so you can see exactly how you're going to receive it from Trail 7. It's going to be completely prepped as you see it here. So this is the mono amp on the back side. This is the distribution block for the ground wire. This is going to connect up top there. This is a distribution block for the power. So the 1/0 cable is going to come separate, and I'll show you how to connect that to the distribution block. This is each power run to each amplifier. You're also going to connect the bass knob into a port here, connect the sub wire to this. I'll show you that in a second. But now to see the front side of this, this is a 6-channel amplifier up front, and this is the pack module interface that's needed for the B&O system. This pack module comes with a bass knob. Don't use the bass knob for bass control. It comes with a knob. It's actually just a control knob, which can be used as a bass knob. However, don't use that knob for the bass knob. Use the knob for the Audison amplifier, which I'll connect in a second. The knob that comes with this pack module, you're going to use to control the chimes. And in the pack module instruction manual that comes with it, it walks you through a very detailed walkthrough of how to set the chimes up. Chime being the door open, the backup sensor, etc. So this is exactly how you're going to receive it from us, ready to go, plug and play. And now let's go ahead and get at the power wire connected, the sub wire connected, and the bass knob connected. So the sub wire is going to come prepped with ferrules on each side, just like this. So depending on which subwoofer you opt for also, if it's the downfiring, the side enclosure, or the tailgate sub, will really determine what the other end of the sub wire is going to look like, or how it's going to come prepped, because the side enclosure is going to come with the sub wire attached to the side enclosure, and you'll attach this after it's attached, etc. But this is how you attach it to the amplifier. Allen key into the speaker out, positive, negative, negative being the dark wire. So this sub wire here is blue and black. You may receive one from us that's yellow and black, red and black, but regardless, it should always be a color and a black, and the black is going to be your negative. And it's prepped with these little ferrules. Let's go ahead and get these connected to the ports on the amplifier using the small Allen wrench that comes with the amplifier. So negative is on the right. Positive is on the left. You can just put this aside. Now let's go ahead and connect the bass knob. This is the Audison bass knob. This is the bass knob that you're going to use to control the gain level, the volume on the bass, on the sub. And it's this port here up on the top right. And that just connects right in. Let's go ahead and connect the 1/0 cable to the power distribution block on the front side of the bracket here. The distribution block and the power source is going to come with 2 100 amp fuses in the distribution block here. The fuse block at the battery is going to come with 1 200 amp fuse, which is plenty enough to support the power here. All right, now our amp bracket is prepped. We can go ahead and mount it in the location. When I set it in here, I'm going to mount and I'm going to land the ground wire first. I'm not going to fasten the bolt or the bracket down completely. Reason being is we're going to come back after we route the power and after we do a quick power test to set all the gains and the adjustments. And with this mono amp on the back, we don't want to mount it permanently because we have to take it off to set up, to get everything set up. So what we can do now is go ahead and prep the amplifier just by pulling this plate off. This is where the gains and the adjustments are beneath this plate here on the 6-channel amp and on the mono amp here. So we'll pull this one off so we can go ahead and set it into place. This is just 2 flathead screws on each side of this plate here. And you can just set this aside and put that on afterwards. So as far as the adjustments are concerned, we have an installation guide. We'll provide our baseline settings of how we would set it up, and that's just a baseline, right? You can always increase, like I said earlier, you can increase it, you can decrease it. We set it up as a fairly moderate level, meaning that you have plenty of room to go more enthusiastic if you wanted a brighter or more sounding to it, right? We set up to where it is fairly tuned for a nice moderate system, right? Again, you have plenty of room to go in there, and our baseline is just our suggestion. Everybody's ears are different, which is why we don't set them up at the shop before they come to you. We give you the suggestion, you can play with it, see if that works for you, and you can make the adjustments if you need to. So now that the cover's off, we can go ahead and set this into place. And then we can carry on with the power run from the other video. So let's get this into place first. All right, let's go ahead and get the amp bracket set up in here. Let's remove this bolt up here first. This is an 8mm bolt. This is where the ground is going to land. Again, mainly what we want to do is we just want to get the ground landed, and then once we do that, we can route all the rest of the wiring, and then we'll show you the power run, etc. Now we can pull these wires through so that way they're routed the right way. They're going to come up this side, of course. The power is this side already. There. So all I did is I routed the sub wire and the remote wire coming out the same side as the power wire. The remote wire is going to be ran with the power wire, and the sub wire, of course, is just going to remain back here because your subwoofer is going to land somewhere back in this area. All right, so now that the amp bracket has been placed into its spot temporarily, remember, don't bolt it down because you're going to come back and pull that out to set the gains and set up the adjustments on the mono amp on the back, as well as the front, but don't bolt it down so you can access the back. Anyway, the power has been prepped, so to run to the front, or what's going to run to the front, is the power wire, the bass knob, and the speaker wire that's going to attach to the T-harness at the factory radio. In addition, we've prepped the sub wire, so that's just going to rest back here. If you have a downfiring sub, that's where this sub wire is going to end up. If you have the tailgate sub, that sub wire is going to come through this area on the side here, which we have a video to show you how to install and mount the tailgate sub, so don't worry about that, we've got you covered there. And we also have the side enclosure sub, which we have a video to show you how to mount and route the side enclosure sub as well. So just to know, you have several different sub configurations. So for this one here, for this video, we're gonna land the downfiring sub in the back, so we've left this sub wire just rested here. So to route to the front, the power wire, the bass knob, and the speaker wire harness. So let's clip over to the other video to show you that routing now, and we'll be right back. The harness and the power wire are going to route to the driver's side. We're going to remove the trim panels on the driver's side, and that's going to route the power and the harness along the trim, along the door, up to the front. We'll show you that here in a second. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and route the power and the harness. So like I said earlier, we're going to just lay this along here. I'll zip tie that down to the wiring that's already there. And this power wire is going to come along this trim, It's going to run along the trim on the driver's side here, all the way up to the front. And the firewall for the power wire is right underneath the driver's brake on the left-hand side up top there. So we're going to go ahead and start removing some trim panel pieces here. And start with this one over here. So let's go ahead and get this piece off first. Just like the other side, just lifts right up. Just pop the clips right out. While we're here, we're going to go ahead and get this piece off here as well. That's good for now. That's the piece that leads up to the front. Now we're going to pop just the couple of clips that are holding this portion down here so we can get the cabling underneath that lip. That's what we're after. And there's a little cavity right here we want to feed that wire through. That's probably enough where I can get my hand inside on this side here. It's hard to see, but from this angle you can see a little hole right there where that cable is going to go into. Ultimately, we just want the cable underneath this trim panel. You have to pull this side out pretty good in order to get enough space underneath there. Just go ahead and pull those clips out just like you did on the passenger side there. Now that enough is out, you can kind of lift it in a way where it gives you that clearance to put the cable up underneath there. There we go. All right, now that the cable is through and through on the other side over here, we can go ahead and reattach the side piece here. All right, so that's back in. Now we're going to continue to run the wiring along the trim here, all the way up to the driver's side seat. Just put it right inside that channel. Now that the cable is underneath here, we can go ahead and put this trim piece panel back. And we'll go to the front so we can pull the rest of that cable, route it underneath the trim. So we're going to remove all of this trim piece now that the cable is up here. So we're going to remove this Ford Performance piece first. I'm going to finish routing the cable on the driver's side here, up underneath this trim piece here. There. Then we have to remove this piece here, which you have to remove the grab handle to do so. We want to take this dead pedal piece off, which then gives us the access to run the power cable up to the firewall. All right, I'm going to intercept right here. We're in the middle of the power run. However, we're going to jump in here because as I said at the table there, sometimes we change things for the better. This is one spot where we change something. So the T-harness that you're about to see and about to watch how to install this to your radio, the T-harness in that video comes with a different connector on here. We just made it better. We made it easier to route through, to fish through. We made it smaller, right? So this is just the Molex connector. So on the wire that's coming from the rear, you're going to have a male Molex connector. On the head unit here, you're going to have this female Molex connector, and you're just going to plug right into there. So the video that you're about to watch has a different connector on there. We just made it better. Something else I want to note, bass knob, you've brought it up to here. There's plenty of slack to route this and to mount this anywhere you want to. We don't have a designated spot. The only reason why we're not going to pick a spot is because a lot of times we hear customers found a different area, a different routing, something that they want to add in. Maybe they want to, if they want to cut a piece out and hide this back behind there. So this is just more of a universal install. Wherever you see fit for you would be the best place to mount this, right? This knob also here doesn't have a disconnect on this knob. So if you wanted to route this into the different area in the dash or maybe inside of the armrest here, then you're gonna have to disconnect it at the amp, mount it first, and route the wire back that way. It's limited with where you can fish this up since it's already attached. So if you were to route it this way, I would go underneath the dash, underneath this trim panel piece here, and just Velcro it right to the bottom underneath the steering wheel column there. That's a quick, easy way to do it. But again, completely universal, whatever works for you to mount and route the bass knob. All right, cool. We're gonna carry on with the power run and we'll see you back at the back side in a little bit. So let's go ahead and remove our grab handle so we can remove this trim pieces. This is the T30. Pull the bottom part out and then just pull the top part out. And we're going to go ahead and remove this cover piece off of here that exposes two 10mm bolts that need to come out. Now there's two 10mm. There's one down here, and there's a hole up on top here. We're gonna go ahead and continue with the trim and remove this piece up here now. Lift all of this. Remember, you have the 2 bolts inside there. And now we have the area exposed to where we're gonna run the rest of the cabling, the power cabling. Additionally, this is where the harness is gonna come to an end with the clip here. We're gonna install a T-harness to the back of the factory radio, which is gonna route under the steering column here and connect to the harness over here. All right, now we're ready to go ahead and connect the portions at the back of the radio. So we're gonna use our provided T-harness and the cable extension, which is gonna connect to the wire harness that was attached and extended from the rear. So to access the connections, we're gonna drop the glove box. There's a 7mm bolt behind that. We'll remove a panel underneath the steering wheel column here. There's a 7mm bolt right there. We're gonna remove this grab handle. There's 2 T30 Torx bit bolts that come out from there. And then the lower control unit from the Bronco here just pops right out. And then we'll access the 2 connections, which we're gonna connect onto here, and then run the harness over and connect into where we have it extended from the back. So let's go ahead and get that taken care of. Once you get this panel removed, you'll see 3 connectors behind it that need to come off. So take the top one off. Just press the tab, pull it out. Push that tab in, that comes right out. The same on this side. Push that tab down, and the whole connector comes out. All right, we're gonna go ahead and attach the T-harness now. There are 2 connectors in the bottom of the factory radio here. On the left side is a gray connector. On the right side is a black connector. That's the one we want. There's a little tab. If you reach inside here, you'll feel the tab, where you'll press the tab and then pull the connector right out. What you'll do is go ahead and install the T-harness now. Connect that into the same spot that this one came out of. And go ahead and connect the other end back into the T-harness connection. And you're going to route this wire through the slot over here, through the steering wheel column, and it'll come out on the other side through here, and it'll connect to the connector that you ran from the back of the harness. Just find the best path to push the connector through. And now you're going to connect these 2 connections here. I'm just going to loop the cable up here and just put a zip tie. Let's put it back together now and just do what we did backwards to remove it. There's these 3 connectors. They only go into one spot. Put that back where it goes. Let's lower this down so it clears it, and let's go ahead and just snap us back into place. Just like that. We can put this bottom piece back in here as well. The bottom piece is back in. Let's put our 2 7mm bolts back in. Can snap our piece back up here. So that's done. Let's go ahead and put our grab handle back on. All right, now let's go ahead and carry on with our power wire up to the fuse block and then connect to the battery, and then we're ready to test out our power. All right, now it's time to run the power from the driver's side footwell up through a rubber grommet. The grommet is a little rubber piece that's inside the firewall there. We're going to remove that grommet. We're going to drill a hole through that grommet in order to fit the power wire. Then we're going to run the power wire up here. There's a fuse bracket that mounts right underneath this area here, and then we're going to connect that to the battery. So let's go ahead and get this grommet out of here, and I'll drill that hole in there. So that's the grommet there. We're going to go ahead and drill a hole into this. We'll be right back. All right, we're going to go ahead and feed the power wire through the grommet location. I drilled the hole in the grommet. We're going to go ahead and feed the wire through, and then we will attach the grommet to the cable afterwards. All right, the power wire is now through the firewall. Let's go ahead and put the grommet on. Now we have a hole in there, so we can feed the grommet through. Just push this all the way up here so you can pull out the remaining slack. And this is perfect length because the fuse bracket's going to mount right behind here. So let's go ahead and prepare that to install. So this 13 mil bolt's going to come out, and the fuse holder, this piece of the fuse holder fits into the little slot right here, and then that 13 mil bolt holds this back into place. So let's go ahead and get this bolt removed. All right, once you get the bolt out far enough, if you have a long socket, the battery may get in the way, so I'd recommend switching over to a ratchet wrench. You can't use the ratchet wrench in the beginning because the bolt is so close up against the body that this won't fit inside there. So you need to use a socket to begin with and then switch over to a ratchet wrench. Unless you have another solution, by all means. All right, now once that bolt is out, we're gonna go ahead and take our fuse block, mount it on the fuse bracket here, and we can go ahead and install the amp wire to the other side. So the fuse is already in here, the lead is ready to connect to the battery. Let's go ahead and get this inside here. Now we're just gonna tighten this down. We'll get it all prepped before we install it, before we mount the bracket. Let's go ahead and put our cover back on. If you put this in here this way, you can swing it around into the slot there. It sets down just like that. All right, our fuse block is mounted on the fuse bracket. Our power is ran. Let's go ahead and connect the power lead to the battery terminal. So your bundle is also going to include the little nut that's required for that. All right, your power has been ran, the fuse has been landed to the battery, everything is connected up front, everything is connected power and ground at the backside. So now we're ready to go ahead and just do a quick power test. Just hit the accessories on and make sure the amplifier and the pack module light up blue or green, the power lights turn on, right? Once that happens, then we can shut it down, we can go back and set the adjustment. So let's make sure our power is on. And we're good to go. Pack module's on, amplifier is blue, everybody's happy. Shut it down, we can go back there and set up the adjustments. So our install guide provided to you before the installation shows our recommended settings as a baseline. If you set those settings the way that it showed there, I would just go ahead and test the system now. And if you're happy with those settings, then you don't need to do anything other than put the bolts in here and you're done. If you set those settings and you want to make some adjustments, that's what this stage here that I'm going to show you is really meant for, of how to gain access to those settings once this is mounted. You're just going to lift this up, swing it around. As I did earlier, I didn't mount the front plate to the mono amp in case you wanted to make adjustments. So now would be the time you can set the adjustments to however you want to. If you don't use the ones that we recommend, you can put that plate back on there and then make the adjustments to the front side here as well. So again, I would go ahead and set them up as we demonstrate in our install guide as our baseline. Test it out, see if you're happy with that, and if you want to make adjustments, then you can come back to it. As I also said earlier, we set those adjustments up kind of on the moderate side, so there's definitely plenty of room to adjust up to if you wanted to get a little bit more enthusiastic with it, right? So here, let's go ahead and show you how to make those adjustments if you wanted to. So leaving the amplifier still, or the bracket still connected to the front here, to the front peg. What I'll also talk about in a minute is the benefits of the 6-channel amplifier and how to set those up individually per speaker, but I'll get that in a second. So leaving the front peg connected here, you can just lift this up and swing it around. Just be careful. You have limited space, of course, because the ground wire must remain connected. Of course, your system is live right now, so you can listen to the sound as you adjust, etc. And here are your adjustments back here. Here's your gain, your bass boost, your dB levels, etc. That's all back here, so you can make those adjustments as you listen to it. Maybe close the tailgate. However you're going to dial in the subwoofer is going to work out. Whether you're going to do it by ear or you're going to do it by RTA or machine gauge, however you're going to dial that in, right? This is set up by an RTA, so again, why it's probably more on the moderate side. If you adjust it by ear, then you can probably get a little bit more enthusiastic, a little more fun with it. Add some more power to it. So after you make your adjustments, let's go ahead and put the cover back on. Something about this amplifier also, this is 1,000 watts at 2 ohms. These subwoofers, this 12-inch Hertz subwoofer is a 2 ohm sub, so you can definitely power two 2 ohm subs and it would bring it down to 1 ohm. So this 1000 watt at 1 ohm sub amplifier is plenty to power 2 subwoofers. We do have something coming soon with the dual tailgate enclosure, so look out for that. Let's go ahead and put this back into its place and we'll set up the front. So we're going to go ahead and mount the amplifier now. We're going to reinstall the 1 bolt here and then the 2 bolts down below. Go ahead and screw this top one in first and don't tighten it down all the way. And then check to see with the feet to make sure that they are flat on the surface. If they're not flat on the surface, you may have to bend this bracket down here a little bit to match the contour of the frame. We do put a rubber stop, or we do provide this rubber gasket here, so that'll help with a little cushioning down below. You don't need to over tighten this down so much that it pulls this top part off. Just a note, we have seen that if you tighten this down and then tighten these down, it may pull the screws out of the top of this. So just be mindful of that you may not need to tighten this down all the way. As long as it's tight and not moving anywhere, it doesn't need to be slammed down to avoid pulling these screws out. All right, now we can go ahead and adjust the 6-channel amp. All right, so let's go ahead and remove this cover plate so we can access the adjustments. So here are the adjustments for the 6-channel amplifier. So as I said, we'll provide a suggested settings. So if you go ahead and set them up as we have on our suggested settings and you're happy with the sound, then you don't need to do anything with it here. Just to give a high-level explanation of the 6-channel amplifier, again, what this does is allows you control over each speaker independently, as each speaker will have its own channel. So the 2 dash speakers up on top, and this setup here, using the Audison Prima speakers, there'll be a 4-inch coax, so you'll set your high-pass filter up on top for your high-pass. Your rear speakers are going to be 6.5-inch Prima coax. You're going to set your high-pass filter on the rears as well. And then the kick speakers are 6.5-inch woofers. This amplifier has band pass, so you can adjust your high and your low on that same channel, so you can really dial in the mids for that woofer. So this is how we have this set up, to where this is a nice balance of all of those speaker configurations. Setting your highs for your dash coax, your highs for your rear coax, and your band pass mids and highs, giving you that nice full mid-range for your lower woofers. This is how you'd access that. If you do want to rich this up a little bit, if you want to make it a little bit more enthusiastic, you can certainly play around in here, adjust some gains, etc. So we'll cover that back up again and we'll wrap it up. All right, amplifiers are both adjusted, the 6-channel and the mono. Let's go ahead and button up all the trim panel pieces and we'll meet you back here in a minute. Put our trim piece back together. Let's take our grab handle and put it back in here. And now let's go ahead and put our last piece of trim panel in here. Earlier when I took the panel out, I told you that there was these blue clips that popped off of the panel and were stuck in the side. Go ahead and take those out of the side like I mentioned, and you're going to want to put them into the location that they came out of, because if this is left inside the Bronco here, the way that this clips on, it clips on with a hook underneath it. You won't be able to do that. It just doesn't work. Right, so you'll see what I'm talking about if that happens. So take it off, put it into its slot and slide it down, and put the next one into the slot and slide it down. When you put it in, you just have to push it in and it'll pop right into the hole that it came out of. All right, so let's get this piece in first. So now remember, we disconnected the 12 volt, we disconnected the light, then we disconnected this module here also. So we're gonna wanna reconnect the 12 volt, the light, and the module here. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do that. You saw me take them off, doing the same thing backwards. Clips are in. All right, you're gonna go ahead and just make sure no cables are pinched behind the board here. Just snap all the remaining pieces back in. There's that one trim piece that you saw me take off earlier. I can reach it from here. I'm just gonna go ahead and pop that back on. All right, now we can put this piece back in here. There you go. That's good. Now we can go ahead and put our trim pieces back in. All right, let's go ahead and get this trim panel piece on over here. Now let's get that trim panel piece up there. There you go. That snaps right down. All right, our install is complete. The full bundle has been installed. Hope you saw how easy that was. The Audison amplifiers are behind the scenes here. As I said earlier, we're gonna provide the sub wire, and that's gonna route to whichever sub option you choose in your bundle, whether it's the 10-inch side enclosure, the 12-inch down firing, or our 12-inch tailgate enclosure here. The sub wire is gonna route to that, and then depending on the setup will also determine how that's gonna come, whether it's attached to that, whether it's attached to this, or directly to the amplifier. Like I said, we have a full video to show this install, we have a full video to show that install, and this just connects right into the terminals. So this is the Hertz Audison Plug and Play Trail 7 bundle. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you saw how easy that was to install. If you're interested in picking up any Hertz Audison packages for your Bronco, please visit us at www.trail7.com. Until next time, we'll see you.